you have a clear niche, then you will really grow in prowess. You'll be known as that expert. You'll be very proficient in what you do. So when I started doing niching as a business specialist with Nicheonomy, it was 2011. And of course, I knew a thing or two about niching at that point because that's the reason I started my business. But what I know now compared to what I knew then, even what I knew 2 or 3 years ago, is so much deeper, because the more you hone in on a subject, the more and more and more you get to know about it. So it really does boost your proficiency and hence justify the higher price point that you might go out on, and likewise enables you to package up your products. So it also means that you can really start to claim proprietary intellectual property. So that's whole prowess expertise type reason for it. And then planetary. So what this really looks at is the fact that the worldwide planetary objectives, the problems we've got going on in the world at the moment, are going to be solved by business owners. It's not going to be government. It's going to be people who have great ideas and are clear about what they're here to achieve and what problem they are here to solve. We're all here to solve problems, and we're all born to focus on a particular area, a particular niche. And so in terms of being an objective for the planet as a whole, this is really important. Niching is fantastic for that. So, but the one thing that is sort of, you don't realise it until you start, and I've had clients recently in the last couple of weeks who've really experienced this, that it's the personal objectives, it's your big why, that when you niche, you can actually fulfil on your why. And what does this mean? And I'm going to go into this in more detail, but really it's providing you with a business that can help you fulfil on your purpose and have a business that's going to be fun. So the passion, prosperity will be in existence. So it's not just about money, it's about getting lifestyle objectives, growth, healing past wounds, being able to align to your personality, you name it, anything you want on a personal level, niching can actually help you with that. So the real deal here, however, is how on earth do we find our niche? If we now know this is all really important, how do we do that? So the first thing I'm now going to just go through is just go back to a couple of basics and say, okay, well, let's look at this. What exactly what is a niche? Because a lot of people struggle with this, and perhaps some of you may experience this yourself. So going back just to basics, the Oxford English Dictionary defines a niche as a specialised but profitable segment of the market. So it's a niche market for a specific commodity or service. So this is actually, it's the who of the piece. It's who are you targeting your products at? And many people will mistakenly believe that their niche is what they do. So they might think, oh, well, I'm a business coach, or I work with personal trainers, or I'm a personal trainer, and come at it from exactly the wrong direction. So really, just to be clear, it's actually the target audience, it's the who, and the more specific honed in that you'll be, the better. Okay, so, but if you'll also note there that a niche by Oxford English Dictionary definition is it's also a profitable segment of the market. So it's not just a passion project. This isn't just something that's a fun charitable aspect. It has a strong commercial angle to it as well. And I'm definitely all about the profit. I'm very purpose oriented for sure, and I'm sure a lot of you are as well, but I'm a commercial person at heart, and I can see there's real value in being focused on the profit. So, but having said that, so the Oxford English Dictionary defines it as the who, but I like to say that there's now a new definition. And the new definition of niche, which really does involve 4 component parts rather than just one. Because if you have had an experience of trying to work out your avatar, and avatar as in not the ones swanning around in beautiful dresses like today, but if you're actually trying to just say, well, what's my ideal client, what's my ideal avatar, and just sit down, often your mind will go blank. So you need to be able to navigate through this in a systematic way. And here are the 4 key ways that I like to share with people on how to navigate the niche. So firstly, it's who do you serve or target? So that's definitely the Oxford English Dictionary definition. But then we combine that with the problems that you want to solve for that group, the solution you offer them, and how you provide a solution to your audience can also niche you. So it can be a very unique technology, innovative way of addressing an existing problem for an existing who. So how you solve that problem will be the component part of niching. And then why you do what you do. So you may have heard the expression that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And this is a very interesting way of understanding that niching's got a few more components to it than simply identifying that ideal target market with money ready to buy. And that's why I think people often struggle. So let's have a look at, and by all means, if you want to take photos of any of this, you can do that. I think if there's a camera tool on the left-hand side there, if you want to take photos, you're most welcome to do that. Okay, so how do you discover your ideal niche? Okay, so firstly, knowing what a niche is, and I've just gone through that, so hopefully we've ticked that box. But then what makes an ideal niche versus just a niche? And a lot of the time people come to me and say, well, I think I've got one that's making money and it should be working, but for some reason I just don't feel like I've got it yet. And it's making, it's prosperous, etc. So by definitions with Oxford English Dictionary, it's a profitable segment of the market, but why doesn't it feel like it's for me? And so I define the ideal niche based on 5 Ps. Okay, so 5 Ps, which I am going to give you an opportunity to rate. So you can look at where your current niche is. So an ideal niche is a prosperous niche. So I have only recently changed this from being profitable to prosperous. I think prosperous is a better word. So yes, it means profitable, but it's also prosperous in terms of it's contributing something beyond just the business. So it's prosperity as opposed to just being pure profit. So is it prosperous? So is it delivering on financial and non-financial objectives, in other words? Then once you've got that, is it aligned with your purpose? So your purpose is what you're here to do in the world. Your passion, which people think the two are the same, they're absolutely not. But the passion is what you love, what you're here to do, you absolutely enjoy. And I'm going to, by the way, go through this in a bit more detail than the why. But your ideal niche will also be aligned with your personality. So your personality looks at aspects of what are your natural talents, what are you naturally great at, what personality do you throw out, what's your vibe, and is it matching up to the niche that you're in, and is it matching up to the target market and the solution that you're providing. And then your past. So this relates to whether it's matching up to where you've come from. What is your experience? Not just business and professional experience and technical experience, but it's also what is your life story? Where have you come from? Why are you doing this? So these 5 things, I recommend that you just take time to give yourself a little rating. So there's 5 of them, and if you are perfect score on each one, you'd be giving it 2 in each of these lines, so you'd be a 10 out of 10. A lot of people are a bit of a mixture. So if you're absolutely missing in action, no chance. If this is just not happening, it's a 0. If you kind of think, yeah, you know what, I'm in progress, sort of working, it's not working, then you would be a 1, a bit of work to do, maybe a bit of extra definition. And if you think, yep, that's a slam dunk, I'm done, I'm great, then you would be a 2. And this is just a really great way of just really articulating for yourself, well, where might I be missing? So if someone says to me, I've got a prosperous business, my family's doing well, everything's happening, but you know what, I'm just not happy. It's like, okay, guess what? We're missing passion and we'll definitely be missing purpose. So this is just a quick look at where you're at, and maybe if you wanted to just have a little jot this down and have a think about what your rating would be, we can talk about that again in perhaps the second networking bit. Okay, so I've said that there's 5 things, and these are 5 out of what I call the 10, and there's 10 things that make up your why. So, oh, hang on, I'm pressing the wrong button here. I just pressed. Okay, great. So here it is. This is the niche navigation system. And the niche navigation system is a top-level system. It's a model that I use, my signature system, to help us methodically, step-by-step, go through some of the things we need to look at. And we start with why. So we look at what is your purpose, and there's 10 levels of why. So a lot of people say, well, look, I have no idea what my purpose is, and I've been thinking about this, or what the hell is that? So we have a system at Nicheonomy where we go through the 10 levels and we'll gradually get you down there. So it's not gradually, it can be quite fast, but it just, the system, this is one of those things at Prowess, I've really honed this in the last 3 or 4 years. So it really helps you work out what your niche is. Because when you start with why and you're coming from your ideal purpose, then once we're clear on that, we can then articulate, well then who? Who is it that you care about? Who are you actually here to serve? Who is your ideal tribe? Who do you care about? Because it's got to be more than just these people have money and they've got a problem. It's got to be something heart-centered. It's coming from why you're here and what is your purpose. Standing in that same why and the who, then we can also look at, well then, okay, what problem are you here to solve? So if you recall, I said there's planetary objectives for niching. We're all here to do something. We're all here to achieve something in the world and do it through business, in my opinion. So what problem do you feel is yours to solve? So we look at that coming from why. And then once we've got that, we think, well, what solution am I bringing to the table? And why do I want to do it in, say, an online product? You know, the person who created this 3D solution we've got here, someone came up with that. Why did they come up with this solution to presumably isolation or trouble with people getting information? Why does someone come up with a solution that's an innovation like this versus simply doing courses and training? There's probably a why. So when we combine all these four parts, it can be really powerful. And when you intersect them all, you'll be clearer on who your niche is. And this is how we get to the niche. So under each of these segments, these aspects of the niche navigation system, there's quite a few layers, as I'm sure you can imagine. One of the things to be aware of is it's not a case of us just going through in a linear fashion. We sort of jump around and go, once you distinguish your who and your why, then your problem will become clearer. The solution that you need to resolve will be, will also crystallise. But the one thing we absolutely know we have to do in a certain order is that we must start with why. So, is this even doable? So the question is, how are we going to find your why? And so your why it's your purpose. It's your whole raison d'etre. It's the reason for being here. And we have devised here at Nicheonomy, we've devised the 10 clues to your why, and I call it Nicheonomy's pyramid of purpose, which has 10 layers. So if you look here, and this is, I'm down to 20 seconds, so I'm going through breakneck speed here. But this is the Nicheonomy pyramid of purpose. And basically, you'll see here, I've got a bit of a colour code, because I like lists with letters that start with P, and I also like colours. So we know that the purpose, your why am I doing this business? Number one, it must be prosperous. So you need to be clear, well, why on earth am I doing this business? What is it? Do I want to provide for my mum? Do I want to be able to give my kids a great education? Do I want to have, what prosperity levels do I want? Do I want to have good life balance? So we get clear on that. We then go down and we think, well, and these are in order, by the way, so there's a system to this. We look at the personality. What is your personality? What the systems I use help us work out what is your purpose in terms of what's your personality here to achieve, what is your objective on this world, and specifically what talents are we seeing from you that would suggest that you are here to do a certain thing. We then have the greys, the 7 to 4, and I'm not going to even go in, I clearly don't have time, but that is broadly what I group out as the past. I'd like to thank you for your attention, and if you've got any other questions, please get in touch. I'm on Facebook, that's the best way really, but yes, I look forward to being in touch and being a support to you, and I really am excited to be bringing this to the community, and I see this as probably the first step of many, so please don't be shy. Please do jump in and ask me questions either here or at any time. I just love doing this, and for me it just doesn't feel like work, so I'd really love to be of service, help you get fully self-expressed and create a prosperous niche business that really does reflect your purpose, your passion and your personality. So thank you.